Can we all just take a moment to talk about how good that music was when that weird torso monster looking thing out of Silent Hills popped up in this episode? The music. Oh my god. Like, I already love the music of Made in Abyss. I enjoyed it the first time I heard it, like the first episode and onward. I've loved the opening song, loved the ending song. But I gotta admit, the music in this episode, not just for the torso Silent Hill monster thing, but also for Ozen, when Ozen, was just talking, and you saw how Ozen was just, leaning over, talking to Rico, the music started playing, the ambience and all of that in the background, it made for a very good scene to build up that tension, and make us question what is really going on here. Who is Ozen? I mean, why does she seem so different? Why is she such a giant? I mean, there's just so many questions. And so, I just want to quickly acknowledge that the music of this episode was fantastic. It was probably one of the best parts of the episode, in my personal opinion. But anyways, with that being said, we are introduced to what I'm assuming is a trap. Once again, a made trap. Japan. Please, please, why do you do this? Why? Okay, look, I have no problem with traps, however, the point that gets me is, why do you draw a female character, you legit draw a female character, you make the character look like a female, and then you just label the character as a boy? Why do you do this? All the time, Japan, you always do this, and you even give the characters a female voice actor. Bro, Japan, why do you do these things? Why do you go so far? I mean, I've already had to deal with one trap, Astafel, and all that from the new Fate series, and then now you give me this, what the fuck? You're always giving me these trap characters that just completely fool me. I mean, normally I could kind of peg traps. I can usually kind of see that, oh yeah, okay, this character is definitely a trap. And when you see this little girl, you see the maid outfit and all that, you would be under the impression, oh, she's just a girl and all that. But no, and when you have that entire conversation between Reg and the girl, and he asks, are you really a girl or whatever? And you see the blushing and all that, basically you could assume from that entire conversation, for that to even be in the episode, she is actually a he. So, just Japan. Why? Okay, I'm just gonna end it there. Anyways, though, there is a lot of characterization given to Ozen in this episode. And I gotta admit, as I said in my last episode review, I really love Ozen's design. Ozen's design is fantastic. That is definitely a high quality design. I know many might look at her and say, she seems very plain and bland, but in reality, her entire design, there's a lot of detail there. A lot of details that kind of hint at whatever could be deeper down into the abyss. Let me explain. Look at her facial design, okay? When you look at her face, yes, it looks plain, but there is, nothing on her face. She lacks emotion. You see how her eyes, she looks dead. The way her face is, she shows no emotion unless she's, I guess, taking pleasure in picking on Rico. You just see overall she shows no emotions. Her face just seems dead, or the way she actually seems dead. It looks like she's seen a lot of shit. And on top of that, her hair, too. Her hair design, in some ways, it's a typical anime hairstyle, but it's very weird when you think about it in the context of this anime series. Because when you think about Made in Abyss, all of the characters, when it comes to their hairstyle, they're very plain. Look at Rico, look at Reg, look at the other characters. I mean, look at the little maid girl in this episode. Or maid dude, actually, the trap, my bad. But basically, if you look at all the characters that we have been introduced to since the beginning, episode 1, and when you look at this, you noticed Ozen has a different type of hair compared to all the other characters. Her hair fits more into the anime style than the actual hairstyles we've been given with our characters. Because, like I said, our characters have very plain hairstyles, while she has this very unique hairstyle that just shows the contrast of how different she is. Now, this could be a way for her to show us as the viewer, first-time viewers of the series or whatever, or readers if you read the manga, that she has been very far down into the abyss, and so she has seen so much shit. She is definitely different. She has a different vibe and presence, which I feel like maybe that's what the artist was trying to go with, just showcasing that she is very different from all the other characters, and maybe that's why the hairstyle is just so unique. Because when it comes to drawing anime and stuff, or drawing manga, usually artists, they have a lot of characters that could be very similar, and the best ways to kind of make it to where characters are different is through their clothing or their hairstyles. And this is why you see a lot of anime with wacky ass hairstyles, because it's for the artist to make it easier for the readers or watchers to understand who is who, and the differences between these characters, give them a different aura. And that's kind of what this is right here, what I'm assuming why her hairstyle is designed like that. However, I do feel like it's very important because of what Riko did say in this episode. She pointed out, soon as Ozen's character was kind of introduced to her, she's like, her hair is really weird, like it's different and all that. And that's really odd, because normally I wouldn't have thought too much about the hair. Like, I wouldn't have spent as much time as I already have on it. However, for Riko to go out of her way to even say something like that, that is the jarring part about this. Why would Riko point out that type of feature with her character? Because she's very tall, she's gigantic, but out of all the other things, like her dead face, like she has no emotions and all that, like she has dead eyes, she wanted to point out her hair, which, that's odd. I find that very odd. So, that's definitely going to be a critical point, I think, to Ozen's character in the future. However, though, besides that, the episode is very slow-paced. It's a very slow episode, and I feel like the episode is more of along the lines to build up the tension. That's exactly what it was. It was there to kind of build up everything for the next episode. So whatever we're going to see next episode is probably going to be fucking crazy, because this episode wanted to take it slow. But there was a lot of nice little details thrown into this episode, which I do want to acknowledge. Let's talk about when Riko was going upstairs. Every time she ascended and was getting higher and higher while in the abyss, you notice that there was a lot of emphasis on this in the episode. For instance, when she's walking up the stairs behind Ozen, you have it to where she, we saw her footsteps. We saw the camera pan to her feet, and she was walking slowly. And you see someone like Ozen, not even getting affected and all that. And you see Riko, how she's getting, like, discomforted because, nausea and all of that. So, I like how this episode had these little details thrown in that, honestly, many might miss on their first time watch. And you might not realize it until you go back and look at these scenes, and that's kind of what the episode was doing, just showcasing that stuff like this could be very dangerous the lower you go down in the abyss, because, I mean, look, if you could just climb a flight of stairs and you get sick like that, just imagine what's going to happen when you go very low down into the abyss and try to climb a flight of stairs. That's how bad it possibly could be. So when you look at it like that, it's pretty eerie, and I noticed that the animators really wanted to focus a lot on that in this episode. They wanted to make it very clear that even if you go up like 5 feet or whatever of stairs, it's still going to cause you to get the effects of the Curse of the Abyss. Because this could be very important for the later layers, because as we know, the Curse of the Abyss gets worse as they go deeper and deeper. So if they get the effects from each layer by just even going up 5 feet, that's not good. They'll probably die. So, like I said, there was a lot of point of view on that throughout the episode. Now, getting into the next part, let's talk about the segment with the cube at the end of the episode. So, the cube, this big-ass white cube, there was a lot of emphasis placed on this, and after looking at it, and then watching the entire episode again a couple of times to see the scenes, that's how I was able to figure out the entire point of view with the steps and stuff. After rewatching this episode quite a few times, I came to the conclusion that the cube is most likely what Riko was carried in. Remember Ozen as a character and what she was saying in this episode, that, remember, Riko is carried up the abyss and all that, in like a cradle, in this like object that kept her safe. We remember this was revealed a couple of episodes back and all that, and we saw like the inside of it as she was in this like cradle thing, this big ass weird like red thing in the inside, and it was really disgusting looking. But overall though, we know she was held in something, so most likely, since there was a lot of emphasis on the cube, and there was also mentionings of, Riko, also being born in the abyss and all that, and how she was pulled out thanks to the help of Ozen and also, actual Riko's mother, that's why she survived. And so I feel like that cube, the emphasis on that most likely is what she was carried in. So Yeah, that's very interesting. But overall, I feel like the episode was a very enjoyable episode. I liked what I saw. I think many can agree. It was a great episode, and I feel like next episode shit's gonna probably hit the fan because I just feel like the way the tone of this episode was, next episode is probably gonna be crazy. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please be safe. Chibi out.